Hello and welcome. Today I'm commenting on High Performance Imports V4. This is the second part I uploaded when I went down to C&Y Sports. They were a tuning shop just southwest of Nagoya. So they were technically in the Mie prefecture, whereas most of Nagoya is in Gifu. They were a really strange workshop. They did a lot of things really outside the box that most Japanese shops probably wouldn't even consider doing, which is why I found them so interesting. In particular, they had the A85 based 11 drag car with the 2JZ super engine. During this video, the names of Truino and Levin get mixed up a lot. And this it also gets referred to as an A86 when in fact the shell was an A85, which was a bargain basement version of that Corolla, which came with I think it only had a carbureted engine and drum brakes, all that sort of thing. Pretty similar to the Australian A86 in a way. But anyway, yeah, I went down there by train, got a taxi around to where I found their address was in a in a option magazine, I think. And yeah, they were quite friendly and showed me around the shop.
We showed you the C&Y Sports Torino running at Sendai in HPI V2. Since then it has run a best time of 10 flat. The C&Y workshop in Nagoya is well known around Japan for performing unusual engine conversions with all kinds of cars.
That R34 GTT you can see in the middle of the shot there was actually a customer car, but it was being set up for drag racing. And in HPI V5, that's the car that we took to some illegal street drag racing in Nagoya. Although I think it was actually a separate trip. But I came to C&Y again and we went out and filmed that.
The most famous example is, of course, fitting a Supra 2JZ
to
their Torino drag car.
Amazing drag car they built. It's A85 11
This
shell,
required a big cutout in the firewall
which,
to keep the engine
as you can
well
see, they
back.
cut the firewall
This
out of it
maintains
to
a reasonably
fit in a
neutral weight
2JZ.
balance, but still doesn't leave much room
Which
in the
at this
engine
time
bay
was
for other
running a
components.
K27 Blitz turbo, which apparently was a limiting factor at the time. They were getting about 750 horsepower out of it. You can see also the custom in that manifold had to be custom because the ones you'd normally buy for a Supra wouldn't fit an A85. And the exhaust manifold obviously is very custom.
The goal is 9.5 seconds on street tyres. After that, the car will be tubbed and run
At
on
this
slicks.
point, they were still running in the low 10s. And the plan was to try and get down to 9.5 on street tyres.
While an extended wing helps
Can't remember if they ever actually did. I like that Supra badge on the back.
The rear suspension is old school stuff, with a big solid axle and custom 4-link arrangement. The shocks are typical Japanese coilovers, but with much softer springs than most.
See the boxes for the 4-link there?
The fuel cell is on the left-hand side of the boot to offset the weight of the driver. More surprising is the stack of wheel balancing weights. A few steel plates, and a bag of blue metal, all aimed at improving traction. Inside, the already basic Torino trim is all gone, with carbon fibre panels carrying new gauges and an Australian Motec ECU.
ここのスイッチを入れるとレフがロックする状態になります。実はエンジンを下げちゃった時にサイドがつかないんで。
This is the guy who actually drove the R34.
そこにスイッチが
when we went out to the drags later on.
ラインロックかけて で、ここにスイッチが入ると 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 でここでプロスタート。
Let's have a look at some more C&Y conversions. Like this S31 Fairlady, called a 260Z in foreign markets, C&Y have fitted an RB25 turbo engine from an R33 Skyline and automatic transmission.
The owner of that car apparently was an older guy who'd owned this car for ages and found he wasn't driving it at all. So he got C&Y to put in an engine that made it more convenient and automatic transmission. It may have already been auto, I'm not sure. Having owned a few older cars, there is something to be said about making them easier to drive regularly.
Far more amazing is this very rare Toyota 2000 GT using a 2JZ non-turbo super engine, also with automatic transmission. I guess parts are really getting tough to find.
This car, I think, belonged to that same owner, and he had this conversion done for the same reason. He wasn't driving the car, partly because it was a manual, which he found difficult, and also because that old twin cam Toyota engine with the Yamaha head, actually I think the whole thing was made by Yamaha. It's an extremely expensive engine to rebuild, and parts are genuinely getting quite hard to get for them. So he figured this way he'd have a nice smooth Toyota straight six in the car still, and he also used the automatic transmission so it'd be easy to drive around. I dare say this car got driven around on the street a lot more than most 2000 GTs ever do. Probably the most disappointing part that it's actually got the plastic gear shift out of I think probably a Crown, something like that. But in case you're worried, the good news is they didn't hack apart the console to do it. That's a custom-made console with some fake wood, I think, to try and match. So if they wanted to, they could very easily convert this car back to normal. And I dare say the next owner would have. Funny to note there, it's also got aftermarket air conditioning under the left side of the dash.
A pair of AE86 Toyotas also caught our eye. This one is built for drift with a Nissan SR20 turbo engine and a HKS 2530 turbo. Though the turbo is not large, it has all the fruit, including a wrapped stainless steel manifold and trussed inlet manifold.
Again, that's a very common setup for an SR20 back then. And you still see them done this way now. It's actually an S14 engine looking at it. This pink one was set up entirely as a street drag car, although I didn't see it out at the drags in the later video. As you can see, another Toyota with an SR20, which some people would find weird.
Once again, C&Y have fitted a trussed inlet manifold. We saw one more C&Y Torino at Central Circuit, which showed the value of their R&D on this model.
For a change, that actually is a Torino, whereas those previous two cars are both 11s. It's an RB26 powered S31. 67. 11.6 is actually not bad for a SR20 powered car back then. When you consider the 2JZ powered 11 was only doing a 10.5, there's a lot more money spent on that one. So that's it for our first little trip to C&Y Sports. We will be seeing more of those cars in future commentary videos. So if you like that, please subscribe and I'll see you then. Cheers.